When Dexter Mills stayed late to fix a broken-down luxury car one rainy night, he never expected to recognize the man behind the wheel, former President Barack Obama. With just $623 in his account, money saved for his daughter Zoe's asthma medicine, Dexter made a silent choice using his last dollars to buy the expensive part needed for the repair. "Having you in my shop is payment enough," Dexter told Obama when he refused payment, hoping the former president might remember his small garage if someone needed a mechanic. What happened the next day would change everything, but not in the way Dexter could have imagined. The secret he kept about that night would lead to a moment months later when he would finally understand why kindness has a way of coming full circle. Rain pounded on the metal roof of Dexter's auto shop, making a racket that almost drowned out the old radio playing soft jazz in the corner. Dexter Mills wiped sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, leaving a streak of black grease that joined several others. The clock on the wall read 6:47 p.m. 13 minutes until closing time. "Just finish Mrs. Parker's oil change, then home," he muttered to himself, sliding back under the beat-up Honda Civic. The shop was empty except for him. His boss Hank had left hours ago, saying something about cutting overhead and can't afford to pay overtime. Dexter knew what that really meant. The shop was failing, just like everything else in this part of Charlotte seemed to be. The bell over the door jangled, making Dexter bump his head on the Honda's undercarriage. "We're about to close," he called out. "Not sliding out just yet. If it's an emergency I can look, but otherwise you'll need to come back tomorrow." "It's kind of an emergency," a familiar voice replied. Something about it made Dexter pause. It sounded familiar, distinguished, with a cadence he'd heard countless times on television. Dexter rolled out from under the car and stood up, wiping his hands on a rag that had seen better days. He blinked twice, not believing his eyes. The man standing in his shop was tall, dressed in expensive casual clothes, soaked from the rain. He wore a baseball cap pulled low and sunglasses despite the evening hour, but there was no mistaking who it was: Barack Obama, the former president of the United States, in Dexter's auto shop. "Car trouble?" Dexter asked, finding his voice. He tried to act normal, like former presidents came into his shop every day. Obama nodded, taking off his sunglasses. "Engine started making noises about a mile back, then smoke. I managed to get it here before it completely died." Dexter glanced out the window and saw a sleek black luxury sedan in the lot, hood still steaming despite the rain. "I've got an important meeting tonight," Obama continued. "I've tried calling other mechanics, but everyone's closed or can't come out. My security detail is arranging alternate transportation, but I'd really like to get my car fixed too." Dexter nodded, already moving toward the door. "Let me take a look." Outside, the rain soaked through his thin work shirt in seconds. He popped the hood of the expensive car and used his flashlight to check the engine. The problem was obvious: a busted water pump and a damaged belt. Not a simple fix, and definitely not a cheap one. Back inside, he gave Obama the news. "You need a new water pump and belt. It's not something I can patch up temporarily." "How long would it take to fix?" Obama asked, checking his watch. "If I had the parts, maybe 3 hours," Dexter said honestly. "But I don't stock parts for this model. We'd have to order them, which means tomorrow at the earliest." Obama looked disappointed but nodded. He pulled out his phone, presumably to call his security detail. Dexter hesitated, then said, "Actually, I might be able to get the parts tonight." Obama looked up from his phone. "Really?" Dexter felt his heart race. "My buddy Tucker runs a salvage yard across town. He might have what we need. If he does, I can fix it tonight." "That would be amazing," Obama said, relief in his voice. As Obama made calls to explain he'd be late to his meeting, Dexter stepped into the small office in the back. He pulled out his battered wallet and counted the money in his bank account using the shop's ancient computer. $623.42, almost exactly what he'd need for Zoe's medicine tomorrow. Dexter closed his eyes, seeing his daughter's face, 10 years old, with her mother's dimples and his stubborn chin. The asthma had been getting worse lately. The new medicine was expensive, but it worked better than anything else they tried. The phone on the desk rang, startling him. It was Rosa, his mother. "Dexter, are you coming home soon? Zoe's asking for you." "How is she?" he asked, glancing back toward the shop where Barack Obama was waiting. "She's okay right now. Used her inhaler once after school." "Are you working late again?" Dexter made his decision. "Yeah, Mom. Special customer. Tell Zoe I'll be home to tuck her in, okay?" After hanging up, he called Tucker. You still at the yard? Dexter asked when his friend answered. About to close up. What's up? I need a water pump and belt for a 2022 Mercedes S580. Any chance you've got one? Tucker whistled. Fancy, got one. Came in last week after a front-end collision. Parts should be good. Cost you though. How much? $600, and that's friends and family pricing. Dexter winced. Can you stay open another 30 minutes? I'm coming over. Must be some customer, Tucker remarked. You have no idea, Dexter replied. Back in the shop, Obama was sitting in the waiting area, scrolling through his phone. Good news, Dexter said. My friend has the parts. I'll drive over now and can start working as soon as I get back. What do I owe you so far? Obama asked, reaching for his wallet. Dexter waved him off. Let's wait until the job is done. The truth was, if word got out that Barack Obama had been in his shop, maybe it would bring in business. Maybe Hank wouldn't close down. Maybe Dexter wouldn't lose his job, the job he needed to take care of Zoe. The drive to Tucker's salvage yard took 20 minutes through pouring rain. Dexter's windshield wipers barely kept up, and one of his headlights was going dim, just one more thing he couldn't afford to fix. At the salvage yard, Tucker looked at him like he was crazy when Dexter told him who the parts were for. Barack Obama? In your shop? Come on, man. I'm serious, Dexter insisted, following Tucker through rows of damaged vehicles. Even if it is him, why are you staying late to fix his car? You think he can't afford to wait until tomorrow? Dexter didn't have a good answer. Or rather, he had an answer but felt foolish saying it out loud, that somehow fixing Barack Obama's car might change things for him. That maybe the former president would remember the mechanic who stayed late and fixed his car in the rain. Tucker found the parts and rang them up. $600 even. Dexter pulled out his debit card, trying not to think about tomorrow when he'd have to tell Zoe they needed to wait a few days for her medicine. Your shop doing okay? Tucker asked as he ran the card. Heard Hank's been talking about selling. Not great, Dexter admitted. This month's been slow. Same everywhere, Tucker said, handing him the receipt. People can't afford to fix their cars these days. On the drive back, the rain got even heavier. Dexter's phone buzzed with a text from Rosa. Zoe used inhaler again. When will you be home? He typed back one-handed, few more hours. Important job. When he pulled back into the shop, Obama was still there, pacing slowly. Got the parts, Dexter said, holding up the bag. I'll get started right away. Outside, he set up a small tarp to keep the worst of the rain off while he worked. The sky had grown dark, and he positioned the shop's work lights to see better. To his surprise, Obama came out to watch, standing under an umbrella. You don't have to stay, Dexter told him. This will take a while. I'm curious, Obama replied. Don't get to watch many mechanics work. As Dexter removed the damaged parts, his hands working steadily despite the cold rain finding its way under the tarp, he fought the urge to ask about politics or say something about the presidency. Instead, he focused on the job. You've been doing this long? Obama asked after a while. Since I was 16, Dexter replied. My dad taught me. He owned a shop across town before he passed. You didn't take over his business? Dexter shook his head. Medical bills took everything. Had to sell it to pay them off. Obama nodded but didn't offer sympathy, which Dexter appreciated. He didn't want pity, he just wanted to fix this car, go home to Zoe, and figure out tomorrow's problems tomorrow. But as he worked under the tarp with rain pattering all around him and Barack Obama watching quietly, Dexter couldn't help wondering if this chance meeting might be the miracle he'd been praying for. Dexter's hands moved with practiced skill despite the cold rain. Every few minutes he wiped his face with his shoulder to keep water from dripping into his eyes. Obama had retreated to the waiting area but came out occasionally to check on progress. During one of these visits, he asked, "Need any help?" Dexter smiled slightly. "Unless you know how to hold a wrench, probably not. I can hold a flashlight," Obama offered, picking up the extra work light from the ground. For the next 20 minutes, the former president of the United States held a light while Dexter worked. They didn't talk much, but the silence wasn't awkward. "You've got a kid?" Obama finally asked, noticing the small photo taped to Dexter's toolbox. The picture showed a smiling girl missing her two front teeth. "My daughter Zoe, she's 10 now, that picture's a couple years old." "She into politics?" Obama asked with a slight smile. Dexter shook his head. "Science, wants to be a doctor someday." He left out the part about her spending so much time in hospitals that she'd grown fascinated with medicine. Some things felt too personal to share, even with Barack Obama. His phone buzzed in his pocket, probably Rosa again, wondering where he was. It was almost 9:30 p.m. Now, he ignored it, focusing on carefully installing the water pump. "So what made you stay open late for me?" Obama asked suddenly. Most places would have just said come back tomorrow. Dexter paused, considering his answer. The truth was complicated. Yes, having Barack Obama in his shop was extraordinary, but the real reason went deeper. "My dad always said you treat everyone the same, whether they're famous or not," Dexter replied, tightening a bolt. "But he also said when someone needs help and you can give it, you do." Obama nodded thoughtfully. "Plus," Dexter added with a small grin, "it's not every day a former president walks into your shop. Figured that's got to be good luck or something." "Or something," Obama agreed with a smile. The repair was complicated, requiring Dexter to work in tight spaces with limited tools. Twice he had to stop and call Tucker with questions about the used parts. All the while, his mind kept drifting to Zoe. She'd been having more bad days lately. The doctor said her lungs were getting worse, not better. The new medicine had shown promising results, but their insurance only covered part of the cost. Each month's supply cost nearly $600, which was why Dexter had been saving carefully, picking up extra shifts when Hank would let him. And now that money was going to fix a luxury car for a man who probably had the best healthcare in the world. "You okay?" Obama asked, noticing Dexter's distracted expression. "Yeah, just thinking about something," Dexter replied, refocusing on the task. Another text came through. This time Dexter glanced at it quickly. "Rosa, Zoe asking for you. Having trouble sleeping, breathing not good." Dexter felt his stomach tighten. He typed back, "Tell her I'm fixing a special car. We'll be home soon to check on her." "Everything all right?" Obama asked, noticing Dexter's worried look. "Fine," Dexter said automatically. "My daughter just has trouble sleeping sometimes." He didn't mention the asthma, didn't mention the medicine, didn't mention that the money he was spending on these parts was meant for her. What would be the point? It was his choice, his responsibility. Around 10:15 p.m., Dexter connected the last hose and checked all the fittings again. The rain had finally slowed to a drizzle. "Want to start it up?" he asked, stepping back. Obama got into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine came to life smoothly, purring without a hint of trouble. Dexter watched carefully, checking for leaks or unusual sounds. Nothing seemed wrong. "Sounds perfect," Obama said, getting out. "You do good work. Let it run for a few minutes," Dexter advised. "I want to make sure everything's solid before you take off." While the car idled, they went back inside the shop. Dexter's clothes were soaked through, and he shivered slightly in the air-conditioned office. He tried to calculate what to charge. The parts had cost him $600. Labor would typically be around $250 for a job like this, but this was Barack Obama. Maybe he should offer a discount, or maybe charge extra for the after-hours emergency service. Obama sat in one of the worn waiting room chairs, checking messages on his phone. "My meeting is wrapping up now. At least I can make the after party." Dexter nodded, still running numbers in his head. He thought about Zoe's medicine, about the shop possibly closing, about his past due electric bill and the rent coming up next week. He made his decision. "Car should be good to go," he said, wiping his hands on a clean rag. "No leaks, temperature's normal." "What do I owe you?" Obama asked, pulling out his wallet. Dexter hesitated for just a moment, then said, "Nothing." Obama looked up, clearly surprised. "Nothing? Consider it a thank you," Dexter said, "for all the hope you brought to this country. My dad was a huge supporter." "I can't let you do that," Obama said. "Parts alone must have cost several hundred." Dexter shook his head. "Having you in my shop is payment enough. Maybe you'll remember Dexter's Auto when someone needs a mechanic." Obama studied Dexter's face, as if trying to understand his motivation. Dexter wondered if he looked as desperate as he felt, or if his pride had successfully hidden it. "If you're sure," Obama finally said, putting his wallet away. "I'm sure." They walked back outside to the car, which was running perfectly. The rain had stopped completely now, and the night air felt clean and fresh. "Thank you," Obama said, extending his hand. Not many people would stay this late to help a stranger. "You're hardly a stranger," Dexter replied, shaking the famous hand. Everyone knows Barack Obama. Obama smiled slightly. They know the politician, not the person. He got into his car and rolled down the window. Take care of that daughter of yours. I will, Dexter promised. As the luxury car pulled away, Dexter stood in the empty parking lot, wondering if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life or the smartest decision ever. Either way, it was done now. He just had to figure out how to tell Zoe they would have to wait for her medicine. He locked up the shop and headed to his old truck, checking his phone. 3 missed calls from Rosa and a text that simply said, "Please come home. Zoe needs you." Dexter started his truck and pulled out of the lot, leaving behind the shop where his life had possibly just changed forever. The weather for better or worse remained to be seen. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Dexter was surprised to find the shop lights already on when he arrived. Hank's truck sat in the parking lot alongside a white sedan he didn't recognize. Inside, he found Hank talking to a well-dressed woman in a business suit. They both turned when the bell jangled above the door. "There he is," Hank said, his tone unusually cheerful. "Dexter, this is Ms. Johnson. She works with the Obama Foundation." Dexter's heart skipped a beat as he shook the woman's hand. "Michelle Johnson. President Obama asked me to stop by. He said you helped him out last night." "I did," Dexter confirmed, glancing at Hank, whose expression had shifted from annoyed to very interested. "He mentioned you refused payment," Ms. Johnson continued. "That's right," Dexter said, suddenly aware of how strange that must sound. "Well, President Obama doesn't let kindness go unnoticed," she said, reaching into her briefcase. She pulled out an envelope. "He wanted me to give you this." Dexter accepted the envelope, unsure what to say. "Thank you." She also handed him a business card. He also left his contact information. "If you ever need anything, give him a call." After Ms. Johnson left, Hank stared at Dexter with new respect. "You fixed Barack Obama's car last night? For free?" Dexter nodded, still holding the unopened envelope. "His car broke down right before closing. I got the parts from Tucker." "And you didn't think to mention this?" Hank asked, sounding more impressed than angry. "It was late when I finished. Figured I'd tell you today." Hank shook his head in disbelief. "Open the envelope, man. Let's see what Obama gave you." Dexter hesitated, then carefully opened it. Inside was a check for $2,000 and a handwritten note that simply said, "Thanks for the help and the reminder that good people still exist. Barack Obama." Relief washed over him. It was more than enough for Zoe's medicine, with money left over. The knot that had been tightening in his chest since last night finally loosened. $2,000, Hank whistled. Plus a thank you note from a former president. Not bad for a night's work. "Mind if I take an early lunch today?" Dexter asked. "Need to pick up a prescription for Zoe." "Take all the time you need," Hank said, his mood clearly improved by the celebrity connection. "And hey, maybe we should put up a sign, Obama's mechanic of choice or something." The morning passed in a blur. Dexter called the pharmacy to make sure they had Zoe's medicine in stock, then texted Rosa the good news. At 11:30, he drove to the pharmacy, the check safely deposited through his banking app. As he waited for the prescription, he called Dr. Wilson's office to schedule a follow-up appointment for Zoe. The receptionist mentioned they had a cancellation that afternoon. She had a rough night, Dexter explained. Used her inhaler 3 times. "Bring her in at 2:30, the receptionist said. "Dr. Wilson will want to check her lungs." With the medicine secured, Dexter headed home. Rosa met him at the door, relief evident on her face. "Thank the Lord," she said as he showed her the medication. "How did you manage it?" "Obama sent his assistant with a check this morning," Dexter explained. $2,000. Rosa's eyes widened. $2,000? For fixing his car? And for not charging him, I guess. She squeezed his arm. "Your father was right. Doing good does come back to you." Zoe was in the kitchen, looking pale but better than last night. Her face lit up when she saw the medicine bag in Dexter's hand. "Does this mean I can go back to school tomorrow?" she asked hopefully. "Let's see what Dr. Wilson says this afternoon," Dexter replied, setting up her first dose. "We have an appointment at 2:30. After Zoe took her medicine, Dexter showed her the note from Barack Obama. Her eyes grew wide as she traced Obama's signature with her finger. "This is so cool, Dad. Can we frame it?" "Sure thing, sunshine." For the first time in weeks, lunch at the Mills household felt relaxed. Dexter's worries hadn't disappeared, the shop was still struggling, bills were still piling up, but the immediate crisis had passed. At Dr. Wilson's office that afternoon, the news was mixed. Zoe's lungs sounded better already with the medicine, but the doctor was concerned about the increasing frequency of her attacks. "We might need to consider a specialist if this keeps up," he said quietly to Dexter while Zoe played with a puzzle in the exam room. "A specialist?" Dexter asked. "You mean in Charlotte?" Dr. Wilson shook his head. "I'm thinking Dr. Patel in Chicago. She's doing groundbreaking work with pediatric asthma cases like Zoe's." Chicago. The word hung in the air. How could he possibly afford to take Zoe to a specialist in Chicago? "Let's see how she does on this medication first," Dr. Wilson added, noting Dexter's worried expression. "We've got options here before we need to think about that." That evening, as Dexter tucked Zoe into bed, her breathing was easier and she fell asleep quickly. The medicine was working its magic. Dexter sat at the kitchen table afterward, staring at the business card Ms. Johnson had given him. Barack Obama's contact information. Did the gesture mean anything beyond simple generosity? Was it just something politicians did to feel good about themselves? Whatever the reason, Obama's unexpected kindness had saved Dexter today. But tomorrow would bring new challenges that even a $2,000 check couldn't permanently solve. The next week passed in a blur of routine and unexpected changes. Word about Dexter fixing Obama's car had spread through social media, bringing a steady stream of customers to the shop. Business was better than it had been in months. On Friday afternoon, Hank called Dexter into the office. "I've been running the numbers," he said, looking happier than Dexter had seen him in years. "Even with the rent increase, we're going to make it. This Obama thing really turned us around." Dexter nodded, feeling a mix of relief and amazement. One act of kindness had changed everything. "There's something else," Hank continued. "That woman from the Obama Foundation called. They want to know if you'd be interested in some kind of partnership program helping other small businesses in the community." Dexter's phone buzzed with a text. It was from a number he didn't recognize, but the message made his heart race. "This is Barack Obama. Heard about your daughter's situation. My foundation has connections with pediatric specialists in Chicago. Would you like us to help arrange a consultation?" As Dexter stared at the message, he realized that sometimes kindness really does come back to you in ways you never could have imagined. The former president of the United States was offering to help his little girl, all because Dexter had chosen to help a stranger on a rainy night. He typed back, "Yes, sir. Thank you." Because sometimes, doing the right thing when it costs you everything is exactly what opens the door to everything you need.